Would you like to make your favourite meals cost less while tasting just as good, if not better, and being equally or more nutritious? If you said yes to that question, then keep watching this video because I'm going to give you my 5 tips on how to make your favourite meals cost less, taste great, and be super nutritious. Hi, my name is Sorcha. I'm a nutritionist and a ballet fitness instructor from Ireland, and today's video is going to show you how you can make your favourite meals cost less but still taste just as good. My first tip is when you're using mince, so mincemeat in things like spaghetti bolognese, cottage pie, stews, all chilies, anything like that. If you use half mince and half beans, then you're going to increase the fibre content. You're also going to reduce the cost by a lot. You're also going to reduce the saturated fat content, which is also good as well. Now, what I mean by beans is not baked beans. There's loads of types of beans. Cannellini beans, broad beans, cannellini beans, lima beans, pinto beans. They're all really good to use in these things. I use cannellini beans for when I'm doing spaghetti bolognese. And what I do is I use half mince and half beans. So, for example, if you were to use just mince, if you were to go to Aldi and buy 1,000 grams kilo of lean 18% fat mince meat, that would cost you €3.79. Now, it could be different in different shops, but it's €3.79. One 400-gram can of beans is only 65 cents. So if you were to use half the mince, so 500 grams of the mince, that would cost $1.90. And then add in your can of beans plus 65 cents. That comes to about €2.54, which is still cheaper altogether than the $3.79 you would be using if you only use mince. And also, you could use more beans, or you could just use beans instead of mince as well. That's what vegans would use for spaghetti bolognese and stuff. It would be beans or tofu. So it's a great way to reduce cost, increase your fibre intake, as well as reducing your saturated fat. The next thing I'm going to talk about is chicken. Chicken is probably the most popular meat out there. Most people like chicken, unless you're a vegetarian or a vegan, obviously. But if you just try the chicken breast is the most expensive part of the chicken. There is the meat on the drumsticks, the meat on the thigh. It's just as nutritious, it's just as much protein, and actually, personally, the meat closer to the bone is a lot more juicy. So if you were to try and use the chicken thighs, the chicken drumsticks, or even better, buying a whole chicken, you have everything then. If you buy a whole chicken for, say, Sunday dinner, you're probably going to have leftovers, and those leftovers can be used to make the next dinner for the next day. A curry, sweet and sour chicken, chicken soup, chicken salad. So buying the whole chicken actually works out less expensive in the long run. So don't just stick to the chicken breast because that's what you know. Try the other parts of the chicken. It's the same meat. It's all chicken. A big problem a lot of people have with vegetables when they're fresh and fruit is they go bad. You buy loads of fruit and vegetables, they're in your fruit bowl, they're in your fridge, they don't get eaten, they start to go bad, you have to throw them out, which is money wasted because you have to go and buy more then. If you find this is happening a lot, frozen vegetables and frozen fruit as well is just as nutritious. When the vegetables and fruit are picked, they're frozen straight away, so their nutrients are preserved. They don't lose the nutrients. Now, things like texture and might be different than when fresh ones, obviously. And yeah, if fresh ones are in season and you know that you're going to eat them before they go off, then buy fresh ones. You can get great deals. Aldi does Super 5 or something. Other grocery stores like Super Value and Lidl and all do them as well, and Tesco. So normally when they're in season, so when they're not in season, they'll be more expensive. July is great for strawberries. I love strawberries. So now is the time, well, it's June. Coming into July is the time for strawberries. You can find out what vegetables and fruit are in season just by Googling it as well if you're interested. But back to the frozen. Don't knock the frozen. It's better than nothing, really. And even so, it's equally as nutritious. So buy frozen vegetables, have them in your freezer. You won't have to prepare them either because they're pre-prepared and you'll be more likely to eat them. They won't go off. A lot of people need to try and reduce their salt intake. And a great way to do that is to use herbs instead of adding salt to your food to taste it. If you're great with growing plants and stuff, it's great to buy fresh herbs and have them like in the plant pots. I have a basil plant. I love my basil plant. It smells amazing and it's great because you just go and you just pick the leaf and use it in whatever bruschetta or pizza or whatever. You can get like parsley, all the herbs. If you're not good at looking after plants, dried herbs are equally as good. Now, chefs might say different, probably. Will be a difference in taste. And also you need to remember, if a recipe says 2 tablespoons of fresh parsley, then it's 2 teaspoons of dried. Like it's dried as it's concentrated, so it's a lot stronger. So you'd put in a lot less. So just remember that. But dried herbs, they're very cheap to buy. You can have them in your press and they don't go off either. So they're long lasting. The last tip is about fish. Fresh fish can be quite expensive, and fish, especially oily fish like our salmon, our tuna, our mackerel, is a great way to get omega-3, which a lot of people don't get enough of. Now there are other sources of omega-3, chia seeds, for example, but oily fish would be a good one. Canned tuna and canned salmon are just as good as sources of omega-3 and they're a lot less expensive. Once again, they're also long shelf life. So if there's an offer on canned fish, then you can get bulk buy on them and get them for less. You can use them just in salads, you could use them in sandwiches, there's loads of recipes that use canned fish in them. And they're going to give you your omega-3, they're a great source of protein. For the salmon, it's normally you get it in brine, so it will be quite salty. That's the only thing. If you are looking to reduce your salt intake, probably be a bit careful with that. But you can get tuna, you can get it in sunflower oil, you can get it in salt water, is it? And so yeah, it's not always in brine, but the salmon is usually in like a brine, so it's quite salty. But that is another way that you can include oily fish in your diet, but you still, it's a lot less expensive than using fresh fish. If you like this video and would like to learn more about eating well on a budget, be sure to check out my budget healthy living playlist.